Well, welcome back to another edition of the Real Life Finance Podcast. I am your host, Ben Joergens. Today, I'm welcomed by none other than Carrie Ellspermann. I've known Carrie for quite some time. You're our Chief People Officer here at Old National Bank.
Yeah.
And welcome to the show, Carrie.
Great to be here, Ben. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're going to get into a lot of different topics that I think are interesting to our listeners and honestly, everywhere in between, and advice that I wish I would have had when I started at the bank a long time ago. So I want to introduce you as our Chief People Officer. A lot of people don't know what that is. So maybe we can highlight that. And let's talk about your journey, because I know when you were young, you used to be an aspiring dentist, if I remember right, and then switching from that to executive leader of a bank.
You've got a great memory, for one thing, to remember that there was definitely a point where that was what I thought my career path would look like. And of course, looks very different than what I anticipated out of the gate.
So let's talk about how you got to where you are today.
So I would say, back in that time period where I thought, being a dentist would be awesome, the part that I always loved about that was dealing with the patients. And I was enamored with the work environment because you're really helping people, through certainly their oral health, their overall health, and also helping them at times when they really need it, right? And that's what I loved about the work. And I think once I got into college and realized the advanced chemistry skills, the advanced biology skills were going to be an important part of all that, I decided that was really not what I was after. And thank goodness I had a wonderful dad who, as excited as he was at the thought of me being the dentist, was like, "It's okay, Carrie. It's okay.
Well, my daughter's
Go do
going
what
through
you
chemistry now. Like, they're doing periodic table, and she asked me for help, and I said, Ash, when it comes to chemistry, I'm a boron. But anyway, that's a tough struggle to get to. So you go from that, and what was your entry point into the financial world?
So I had the opportunity to start with a company called Deluxe Check Printers in a management training program.
Awesome.
And ironically, they were seeking liberal arts students who had a background, who had education like I was going to end up coming out with. So the psychology, the communication skill set. And I went to work for them thinking, well, this is a great entree into the business world, and participated in their management. And then I moved over into the sales training side. And so who did I call on once I moved into sales? But when you're a company that prints checks and financial products, you call on banks and credit unions and savings and loans. Yeah. And so I kind of fell in love with the financial services industry through that.
So for those who don't know what Chief People Officer is, can you kind of explain that in a high level?
Sure. So the Chief People Officer really, if you think about the traditional sort of human resources functions, really those fall under my set of responsibilities. So everything from talent acquisition, like really the responsibility to identify, recruit, and bring great talent into our team, all the way through the benefits and rewards. So compensation, benefits, which I think we're going to talk about here in a bit. So that function, the talent development. So really, how do we train and skill our team members and help them to continue to work on their development, being their best selves here at Old National? That's a big part of it. And then certainly just general talent management. So there are a lot of, as you can appreciate, a lot of really important things that are compliance-oriented, regulation-oriented, rules-oriented that we have to be sure we're complying with so that we create the right environment here. So
100%.
all those things fall under my set of responsibilities, and we like to think of it. I really like to think of it a little more like how we serve and develop the people that work for us. Sometimes traditional human resources has a little bit of a policing, regulatory sort of notion to it. And I really like to think about stepping up and above that, which is really all about developing and being sure we have the right people in the right seats, doing the right work, right placed, right skilled, And to me, that sort of pulls
Yeah.
up above that
I love
kind
it.
of human resources.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to define it. So we're in that open enrollment season. We've got people that listen to us and follow us that may be looking to find a new career path and maybe not realizing how beneficial benefits can be. So as we talk benefits, there's things like medical insurance, dental, vision, pharmacy, FSA, HSA. We love acronyms at banks, and so does benefit organizations too. But disability, the tuition reimbursement, there's a lot of things that are available to employees, and then there's probably a lot of things that get left behind that maybe people don't understand or realize. So as we dive into this, I think maybe starting off, how should team members or employees think about benefits as part of their overall total compensation package?
Yes, that's a really great question, and I'll say just a really smart question, right? Something we all need to sort of pull up and think about at a different level. And I would just say, I think many team members, most people, frankly, focus a lot on the salary component of their compensation, or perhaps maybe it's the salary and incentive type opportunity. So more of what we think of as the cash compensation,
Right.
as they think about their overall package. But the truth is, benefits are a really important component, and benefits can have a significant impact on people's financial situation, either in a really positive way, or if you don't think about those in the right way, the lack of them
Yes.
can go the other way and have
Yes.
sort of a negative
Well, I think the number one
impact.
cause of bankruptcy is medical debt. And, without health insurance, that is
That's
something
right.
obviously that's going to cause that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And the cause of a lot of stress if those
100%.
aren't present. Something people may not realize, companies invest. They may not realize or may take it for granted. Companies invest a lot in employee benefits and in that space. And in fact, I would say benefits can add really 20 up to even 40% of people's base salary
Yes.
expense that companies absorb and pay for. And so when you think about the investment that companies make and the value that individuals should place on those benefits, it is significant.
It
is
is.
significant.
For those that haven't ever looked, most people don't look at their pay stubs anymore, right? Because everything's direct deposit. But pull up a pay stub, and you're going to see your cost versus the employer cost. And a lot of people don't realize how much of a benefit your employer is giving you to help you have those benefits.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
So it obviously a lot of team members and employees throughout the country aren't really sure how to maximize their benefits. Like which ones are for me? Do I need this? Is this the right thing for me? A lot of them may even just rush through it like, it's November, I got to get through this. And it could really hurt them if they don't take the time to really understand it. So kind of any advice that you would give people who really just aren't sure how to maximize benefits that they've got for themselves?
Sure. And again, really, really great point. As you think about maximizing benefits individually, I think the key is to really approach benefits like you would any other important financial piece of your puzzle and your life.
Yep.
And I would offer a few thoughts, and you just touched on one of them, Ben. People really need to study and learn and understand what is available to them. And I know that sounds so simple and trite, but that is so critical. The education piece of that has to come first.
Yes.
Investing the time to educate yourself on what options are available to you. And I'm gonna be the first to tell you, I have been very guilty of moving through the benefit enrollment in the 11th hour in a rapid sort of style. And that is just sort of malpractice, really. It's malpractice for yourself, for your family, and even for the company.
Yeah.
So I start with encouraging people, really study and learn what's available. The second thing I would suggest is know your own personal situation and think about how you can align what's available to your personal choices and circumstance and sort of where you are. And think about really sitting down, just like you would not go make a big purchase. My guess
Right.
has been you would not go buy a car without sitting down with your wife or members
Oh.
of your family, right? And saying, hey, what's important to us? How do our needs look right now? And then what's available to match that, right?
Yeah. Well,
You got to talk about it.
You talked about psychology, Carrie, of some of these things earlier on. And like buying a car, most people show up at a car lot and they just buy one, right? For me,
Right.
it's like we're planning 3 months, 6 months in advance and looking at the fuel costs, the registration costs, comparing it to where we're at right now. And because it's a big purchase. And same thing with a home. People fall in love with the home on Zillow. They go the open house, they fall in love, and emotionally they're attached, and then they make a commitment. Then later they're like, I don't know if we can afford this, right?
Yes.
So having that education, and if you have a spouse or partner, go through benefits together, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And if you have two different jobs, sit down and look at it. Say, let's look at your benefits, let's look at ours, and see which one we want to go with, because it is an important thing. And going through that 11th hour, which I've been guilty of too.
I've done it.
Then later that year, you're like, maybe I should have taken that benefit that my company offered me because it would have saved me a lot of money today.
Exactly. It's funny. My husband and I joked a little bit. We just bought a nice TV, for our family room that needed to be replaced. I thought I was thinking about this conversation, this morning. And I thought, I feel like we probably spent more time talking about the purchase of that television than we did talking about what our benefit situation looked like in some years.
Yes.
And so I just would encourage folks to take some time with it. And, people's situations change. One example I would give in the dental space, because I'm going to navigate quickly to that, right? Dental plans differ. And a lot of times there are more advanced plans that offer added benefits. Yeah. And so think about a scenario where you've got a young person, you've got your young girls, when you reach the point where it's time for them to have braces.
Had that this year.
Did you have that? See?
Yep.
There you go.
So last year she was on the borderline, and we switched to the Premier Dental, the upgraded one, because I knew braces were coming this year. And otherwise, the out-of-pocket would have been way more. So planning, having a plan for what you're going to do.
Yes.
If you're going to have a baby, like if you find out, let's update the, whatever we need to do and things like that. But yeah, just having a plan is so important because so many people make decisions on the fly.
That's right.
And really thinking about it.
That's right. Think about your timing. Think about what is coming. Some things you obviously can't predict.
Right.
But there are things that you can.
Yes.
And so you want to think about your choices in that context.
100%. 100%. So team members balancing, balancing a growing career and family responsibilities. What are some of the benefits that you see, or maybe that people should understand to take advantage of, and maybe how can companies better support employees to make the most of them? Because at Old National, we're lucky. We have our tool called Alex that literally walks you through step by step of understanding your family scenario. And I'm sure for our listeners, your companies offer some of this stuff. And how important is that to take advantage of, to really understand what's best for you and your family?
Yes. And I would really encourage people to take advantage of whatever tools are out there. You mentioned Alex, which is a wonderful, almost really like a virtual benefits counselor. It's like interacting with somebody from our people team who's helping you through sort of a decision tree and the way that you answer certain questions to be sure that you're maximizing the benefits and selecting the things that are most relevant to your family situation. Most companies have some tool or even just, written and published materials that help folks decide that. So again, it's back to being sure that you're allowing time to do those things, right? And thinking through the answers to some of those questions. I kind of like to think about benefits in sort of almost in think about benefits serving two different purposes. One is protecting you and your loved ones and dependents now, and the other is really positioning you and your dependents for a healthy and prosperous future. And so if you can kind of think about you're asking sort of what are the important things to consider. To me, I think about being sure that you've covered both of those buckets, right?
I agree.
So things like medical and health insurance and dental insurance and the key vision insurance, the key things that you want to be sure your health and well-being and welfare are protected now. That's critical. Also, then thinking about your future, and I can't help but hone in on the retirement savings
100%.
piece, right?
It's a huge thing. And it's so simple, but so many people don't take advantage of it to the maximum that they could.
Yes.
And it's a great, I mean, your company is giving you money to match whatever you contribute up to a certain percent. And we were just at a job fair yesterday with a client and going over this and sitting down with people. They're like, I didn't understand the impact of how great of what a company does when they match dollar for dollar up to a certain amount, how that can set you up for the long term.
No question about it. And that is one of the most important decisions you make.
Yeah.
Particularly for folks who are entering the workforce and earlier in the career, and perhaps earlier in that learning and earning cycle, right? And that's often when people don't feel like they can afford to put the money away. And yet it's the most critical time for them to do that, because it's very difficult to earn that back when you don't start early.
Well, so when I met you, or soon after, I started at 19 years old as a college kid. I remember they handed me that book of retirement planning. I'm like, whatever,
no way.
I'm 19, right?
Right.
And but I missed several years. And I think why a lot of people don't take advantage or they back out of the retirement is it's a time value of money thing, right?
Yes.
You start flat for a long time and you don't see the huge impact. But once you've been with a company for a while, that compounding interest and rule of 72 about doubling your money, it comes into play. And it's, to your point, if you start young, it's such a wonderful tool, and you will see that growth happen so much quicker. And because that's one thing, that people are working longer, not necessarily because they love work, but they haven't saved the appropriate money for retirement. So I always challenge people, and what I do is I set mine to go up by 1% every year.
Perfect.
So it's like perfect. The standard raise in an employer is 2.5%, 3%, something like that. So if you put an extra percent away every year and you do get your raise, work hard to get that, you're still making more money.
Right.
You're increasing your retirement, and there's a lot of great opportunity there. So you can sit back and you don't touch it. Remember, it's for the long term.
That's right.
If you're emotional, don't look at it. Right.
That's exactly right. And in many cases, people, the main thing you want to be sure you are putting in to maximize your company's contribution. And
at a minimum.
And exactly. And otherwise you are literally, I tell people, like, you are leaving free money on the table if you don't do that. Free money on the table. And the other wonderful thing, which you just alluded to, Ben, the wonderful thing about that type of retirement long-term investing, when you are putting it in, whether it's a 401k or a 403b or whatever your company's plan is, when you're putting in a little bit at a time, you're able to really capitalize on that dollar cost averaging.
Yes.
So you're putting money in when the market's high, you're buying more when the market is low. That is the best way for you to have the maximum
100%.
Return on the investment over a long time.
Yeah, and I always joke and tell people, like, when the market's at an all-time high, look at it. You're going to feel good. If it's down, don't look at it. Right?
That's right.
But just remember, it's for the long term.
That's right.
But as you talk about, there's some benefits that get left off the table. Like for us, we had one where we took advantage of being able to, from a legal aspect, of creating a will and getting tax preparation done and these things. And it's the minimal amount to put away to get some of these benefits. Nobody wants to think about death, Carrie.
That's right.
And it's hard. Right. My wife and I are in our 40s, and it's something you don't want to think about.
Right.
But at the same time, we've lost friends our age unexpectedly. And if something were to happen, we want to make sure that our kids are taken care of. I bypassed on that opportunity for many years. And then we took advantage of it last year. We're like, why did we not do this sooner? Right. And some people might see a cost come out of their paycheck. Like, okay, I'm taking Carrie and Ben's advice here, and we're going to up our benefits this year. It's going to cost me a little bit extra, but I might lose a little bit of money in my paycheck. But that little bit of money that could come out of the paycheck could save you so much more, and versus like a medical expense or whatever. So it's so lay it out. I'm a nerd. I use Excel spreadsheets and I run it out. But just look at the way you spend money, right? If we have certain prescriptions that we're going to pay, is it better to look at the HSA or the PPO, or the high deductible health plan or the PPO? Analyze those kind of things and look at, maybe I open an FSA. A lot of people don't know what these things mean, but you can allocate funds for what you plan to spend in money and have it be tax-free.
That's
you get upfront, and you don't have to worry about having that money when it happens, or you've got the money there. So maybe we could touch upon that a little bit of how those HSAs and FSAs can be so beneficial for people, but maybe they're just afraid or unsure of what it even means.
Right. And I think that comes right back to the first thing we talked about, and that is really studying, learning, and understand your options. Understand your options in your personal circumstance. And there is no one size fits all, even with something simple like medical plans and HSAs and FSAs. It really does depend on what you think is going to work best for you. Plans that offer higher deductibles, lower premiums, how copays fit into that, how frequently you and your dependents visit the doctor, right? Do you have, in general, good health, or are there challenges that are there with health of your family members? So thinking about that balance between the deductible and the premium on a monthly basis, and how that looks in different plans. The HSA plan is a wonderful benefit for folks who want to put some money away tax-free, let it grow tax-free, and have that available for unexpected things that might arise in the healthcare space. And again, not for everyone, but those are things that you should pause, you should research, you should think about, and intentionally decide if those are for you.
So I just want to note that, because many people have skipped out on, like, or maybe they looked at a high deductible and then they do have a lot of expenses coming up. And a lot of people don't understand you might have a small premium, but if something does happen, you're going to pay a higher deductible. So looking at the safer option for you. And to your point, it is not a one size fits all. Every person is different. Every family makeup's different. Look at what works best for you all and plan appropriately.
Yes.
So as we talked about Alex, our virtual helper, how do you think that that's changed the way team members evaluate and looking at their benefits?
Oh, I think it empowers people so much more than what I remember starting the workforce. You got a 20-page booklet that outlined everything, and while that was wonderful, it was a studious exercise to try to figure out what the right decision was. Now, in 15 or 20 minutes, you can use a virtual tool that by simply answering a handful of questions, I think I mentioned earlier, it's almost like a decision tree. It helps you get down to, here are a couple of options that would be good for you. And many times, at least I know with our Alex tool, and I think with many of the virtual tools, it will even tell you, here are the pros to this option and the cons, and here are the pros and cons to the other option. Here's what you can expect if you choose this. Here's what you can expect if you choose that. So I would just, again, encourage folks to take advantage of those resources. And in my case, and sometimes it's just been almost like a validation tool.
So I really want to point out how important it is of benefits as a compensation package. If you are looking to move jobs, or you're looking to relocate, or contemplating that, compare the benefit piece too, because a lot of people think that salary is the number one driver of whatever job I do. Benefits can be a huge portion of whether or not you should even consider some of these jobs, or as you're, negotiating a career change, look at those benefits as an option of that compensation package, because I think it gets overlooked a lot.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
It absolutely does.
So let's shift a little bit from Chief People Officer, Carrie, to mom, right? So I know your boys, and I know that they're growing up. I remember seeing them when they were really little, and they've grown up. So your kids now have moved on to college. And as we think about parents that are listening to us that have kids that are either on that pathway close to it, or maybe have done it, especially, as they're entering their, higher ed in the high school area, how do you prepare kids for things like money conversations, budgeting, living on their own, financial responsibility? What were some things or tools that you and your husband used to maybe give some advice that you might have for parents that are going through a similar situation?
It is challenging, right? Yeah. It is challenging, and we prepare, our livelihood in many ways as parents is to prepare our kids for successful life in every aspect. And honestly, Ben, this is one that I feel like probably gets overlooked a little bit.
It does.
I do. And we spend so much time helping them in so many aspects, and oftentimes not enough not enough energy here.
Yeah.
So a couple thoughts, and again, I will be the first to say we have certainly not done this perfectly, but a few, maybe a couple tips I would share. First of all, having two boys, right, who have been active
Yes.
and full of energy, you, in my opinion, one of the best things you can do is to sort of drip on them, right? Like a little bit at a time. One of the things we have always, Ken and I have always really talked about money and finances in our household. You have to do it in a very age appropriate way for the kids. That looks different at age 6 than it does at 16, than it does at 26. But we've talked about it. We've talked about giving. We've talked about debt.
Yep.
We've talked about earning power. We've talked about expenses. We've talked about taxes.
Yep.
I mean, educating young kids. I still remember getting my own first paycheck. We're like,
where'd it go?
Dad, something's wrong with this, right? Like you guys didn't calculate this right for me. Well, no, honey, that's how this works, right? So we've talked about that. We've talked about spending in purchases, and certainly with our family's background, talked about investing.
Yeah.
But I think dripping on young people at every opportunity that you have, even if it's a little snippet of education in the moment. I think probably one of the big mistakes people make is they stay silent on finances, and it can be uncomfortable. There's a feeling of, should I be sharing with kids, right? Almost like a privacy sort of thing. But I feel like the best thing we can do with our young people is to help them see how we live it a little bit at a time.
100%. And I mean, they call it personal finance for a reason. It's personal, and people get really hesitant to talk about it. I mean, heck, it's one of the number one causes of divorce is money conversations. And so be open with your kids. Now, you don't necessarily have to tell them like what you make or anything like that. But like we take our kids, have them look at the grocery list and be like, okay, here's what you want. Let's add up to see what that costs, right?
Yes.
Let them make mistakes too. I mean, when our kids get either an allowance for the chores that they've done or they get birthday money or whatever, I'm not going to tell them how to spend it. But all of a sudden they realize, like, how much do you have left? And they're like, I'm out. I'm like, look how quickly it went. They're like, Dad, can I have more money? I'm like, well, no, we gotta learn the hard way. So as much as we want to give our kids everything, and I get it as a parent, you want to at certain times, you have to let them understand that trial and error and that things happen. And if you're looking at, my kids are always like, Dad, when are we going to get a bigger house? And I'm like, we're never home. Like, we're at dance and basketball and archery and baseball and foot, whatever it might be. It's those things, but letting them make mistakes, have them open a bank account at a young age, right? And give them an authority to learn on their own and coach them, grip on them, as you said, and let them make some mistakes, but also show that how they can set it up to be successful in the future.
That's right. I love your idea of letting them open a bank account, starting with a savings account, which is certainly a little lower risk, right, for kids than a checking account that comes with a debit card and that kind of thing. I remember bringing the boys in, and we really made it almost like a celebratory thing. We came into Old National Bank, and I allowed them to sit down and sign their name, and of course I prompted one of our wonderful customer service folks to help and give them a little education, and they were so willing to do that and so incredible about it. But having a little of that education in the moment and making it almost like a rite of passage. 100%. Here are some things that you need to do and understand and be able to articulate to me. And to your point, here's what you can do with some birthday money you've accumulated and chores money, and let's take it in and put it in a safe place, and you can see it on a statement. And I think all those things really matter.
I do too.
All those things matter.
Well, kids go to school to get an education. They get an education to get a job. They get a job to make money, but many people aren't taught what to do with that money. So as parents, this is a great opportunity because kids look up to parents as role models, right? So let's be that role model. And you mentioned earlier, when you get that first job, not only saving for retirement, kids don't have a lot of bills, right? So put as much money in savings automatically every paycheck so they can see that value and see it grow. My kids love seeing my phone with their balances and seeing it grow. They're like, I made a deposit. Can I look at it?
Yes.
And they get excited about it. Gamification, one of those things. But, and for those that are interested, with real life finance, we teach this stuff in school. So you mentioned we teach different to a 6-year-old than we would. We do this kind of thing. We have 250 trainers across the entire company that go out and do this. So utilize us. You can go to our website at oldnational.com/RLF for real life finance, book a session, and we'll come to you. And I want to close as we wrap up on employee benefits and what you've all covered. I had a few stats that I just want to share with our audience. So 45% of employees don't fully understand their benefit package. So dive into it from Carrie's perspective and mine too. Understand it. 1 in 10 workers, and this struck me interesting, 1 in 10 workers would take a pay cut for better benefits.
Wow.
I thought that was pretty interesting. So as you're looking at, if people are looking at a career change, the benefits piece is very important. And then 57% of employees say finances are their top cause of stress. So understand, get a grip of finances. This is what we do every day. So, if you need us to come speak to you, let us know, right? We do this. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook Reels, follow the podcast. We want to help people reduce that stress, which can then have a benefit with their overall benefits that they utilize. But doing all this together can really help people relieve stress, live a comfortable life, and know that, okay, I've got things set. My benefits are in good shape. If something were to happen, I'm going to be covered, and I feel a little bit less stressful. And I think having that less stress is kind of what everybody's looking for in today's age.
No question. No question. And something you said in that, Ben, makes me think of a benefit that I probably should have mentioned earlier, which is any form of mental health benefits,
yes, 100%.
Right? That employers offer. Here we use a service called Headspace, which is an app that you can have on your phone, and it is for everyone.
Yes.
And so no matter what your employer offers, most employers offer some form of, whether it's counseling help or coaching help or help or support during a difficult time, but also look for those things that employers do to help everyone, whether things are difficult or whether they are rocking and rolling, right? They're good.
Yeah. But as we end up, Carrie, I do want to do a little lightning round. We want to get to know you as an individual. So.
All right.
All right. So what would you say is the most valuable lesson that you've learned in your life or career thus far?
Wow. That's a great question. I would say, especially in my career and where I sit today, doing a job that I just absolutely love and feel like I'm built for, I feel like encouraging people along the path has been one of the importance of encouraging people along the path.
Love it.
Has been, if I look back to every major career point that I have experienced, and I look at what I feel like I do today and what our team does, our people team does so well, it really is providing encouragement to people along their career and life path. And Ben, sometimes that looks like, yay, you can do it. Let's go, right? The traditional way we think about encouragement. Sometimes that looks like, I need to pour courage into you because you need to step up and do something a little differently. Yep. So I don't look at encouraging as always patting on the back.
Right.
I look at it as helping to get people feedback and support and positivity through their growth.
Love it.
And so I would say the importance of that with people.
Yeah.
And again, talking about kids and finances and young adults and people at all points in their career, we all need that.
We do.
We need that.
We do.
And I more and more over time have seen the value.
I love it. I love it. Well, okay, Carrie, if you could master any skill, whatever it might be, what would it be for you? We've had some crazy ones.
Also a great question. My husband would say I should go learn to play golf.
I was wondering if you might say that. Yeah, he loves his golf.
He loves his golf, and certainly that's what he would suggest. And the closer we get to a retirement place in life, maybe that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I would say the other thing,
Would
though,
you like to
for
beat
me,
him?
I would love to beat
Yeah.
him. And I think I could do it.
Yeah.
I think if I
Get your game
put
up
my
to par,
mind,
right?
I'm not sure I could beat my boys because
do they play too?
They do. They love
Okay.
it. They love it.
They're just natural athletes.
They
Yeah.
love whatever sport
Yeah.
you put in front of them. And Ken has gotten to the point where he has a hard time competing with them. So I don't know if I can catch them.
Okay.
But I feel confident
can
I
get
could
Ken.
catch Ken.
I love it.
So
I love it.
let's go with that.
Perfect. So you have a busy life. You sometimes you need to unwind or relax. What's Carrie's go-to activity or hobby when it's time to unwind or relax?
I love to walk outside.
Yeah.
Walking is very peaceful to me. It's very relaxing. It kind of helps me reset. So that is certainly something that. Now I am a little fair weather. When it gets really cold,
I'm with you.
It's not as relaxing to
Right.
me. I
Nice
love
fall
time.
day.
Right. I love time with family and friends.
Yeah.
I love watch sporting. I'm a big sports person.
That's awesome.
I'm a sports mom for sure, and
Saw
I
you
enjoy
at all the football games. Yeah,
I
cheering on your
love
boys.
it all. I love
love
it
it.
all. So
Well, good.
yeah.
So I know throughout your career journey, you've met a lot of people. You follow a lot of people. Is there anybody that stands out as like the most influential person in your life, personally, Carrie?
I have had the benefit of really having wonderful people who have helped me reach and stretch and grow. And it's funny, Ben, as I look back, different people at different points in my life have been really significant and instrumental in different ways. Probably if I have to choose, I go all the way back to my folks.
Love
you
it.
know,
Yep.
I was been blessed with two wonderful parents who helped me create a great foundation for my life. Great values, ethics of sort of hard work, grace and poise that probably my mom instilled to the best of her ability.
Yep.
And my dad always sort of saying to me, you can do whatever you set your mind to. And frankly, as a young female entering the business world and the world in general, the male figure that I had that was most influential in my life, telling me that all the time was a good thing.
Pretty
So
awesome.
probably reinforces we need to be sure we're telling our kids,
Yes.
hey, go get it.
Absolutely.
You can go
Kids
after
listen
it.
to you. Yeah.
They do.
They do. So let's give them good advice, right?
So I think those are probably the
I love it.
things I would lean into.
I love it, Carrie, and it's I've known you for many years now, and I'm so happy you could be on the show today. Your company's benefits are great when you take advantage of them, right?
That might be the punchline
There you
right
go.
there. Companies' benefits are more important than you realize. There is more involved than you realize. There's more invested than you
Yes.
probably realize. And they are more powerful when you take advantage of them.
Perfect.
So be sure that you're
Yes.
doing that for yourself and your family.
Perfect. Well, I think that's the perfect way to tie it up, Carrie. Thank you so much for being a guest on the
Thank
Real Life
you.
Finance Podcast, and as always, it's great to see you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much,
You're
Ben,
welcome.
for
Thank
all
you.
that you're doing.